In last week's video, I started making the seal for this, and I used some painter's tape, some aquarium silicone, and then some Vaseline as a release agent. That way I could make a nice seal for this jar, and overall I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This releases, that's what the Vaseline was for, and yet it still seals up pretty nice. But this week's video really isn't about this more, it's going to be about some other stuff. So we're gonna put this aside and get to work on some of the other things. So while I was out exploring my yard, I found some, well, I really was finding a lot of moss, but one of the neat things I found is this piece of cinder block. I mean, I'm actually kind of questioning if it's actually cinder, but it's some sort of composite concrete block. And I got the idea that maybe I can try to grow some moss on it. So that's one of the things I want to try to do today. And I'm going to be using a very similar method to what I did with the moss propagation clay in a sense, but it's also going to be a little bit more simple. So we got this nice little hand-powered blender on Amazon. And the one thing we like about it is the fact that it's simple to use. It locks the lid in place, so you just pull a little like tab and you can spin the blade. And I also don't feel guilty blending up dirt and moss inside of this thing rather than our full-size blender. So I already had some moss in here from from testing this out and seeing how it chops stuff up. So I'm just going to chop up that moss, and I'm actually going to be taking a little bit of Java moss from an aquarium. And I'm going to be blending that up as well. Java moss will grow terrestrially or on land, so we're just going to blend that up, and I'm just going to smear it all over this, and then hopefully I can get it to take to it. It's hard to say because there is a chance that this might be seeping out some chemicals, so it might not actually grow the moss on it, but moss is pretty resilient stuff, and I have it growing on my brick wall outside, so I'm hoping if it'll grow there, I can get it to grow here. Yeah, not too bad. It's definitely doesn't blend it up quite as well as like a powered blender would. So if you happen to have a powered blender laying around, you definitely could use it with that, but I didn't really want to pay for a full powered one, so this is the next option. And I'm also too lazy to cut all this up by hand too. There, so it's definitely starting to become more of like a mud slash slurry. I can see some strands of the Java moss really still kind of hanging around, but I'm gonna just scrape down the walls a few more times, keep blending it up, and then I'm gonna just put this on the rock and see what happens. I think that if I remember correctly, there's probably like, besides the Java moss I just put in here, I think there was 2 other types of moss. They were in the original kind of blended up mix. And I think it'll be neat to see kind of which ones might take to this better, this type of condition, because I'm sure some of them favor certain conditions more than others. So you could definitely, especially if you found one particular type that really worked well for a project like this, you definitely could just use one type. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to see maybe a variety on this. I mean, that's assuming it works at all. I wanted to try this on some lava rock that I had as well, but I can't seem to find where I placed the lava rock. We used to have it out front, but then we did some yard work out there, so I'm not sure where I put it. So these last little bits, I'm having a hard time actually getting them to come out with this tool. So I think what I'm gonna do is probably pour some water in here, kind of mix it around in here to get most of it off the walls, and I'm probably gonna pour that into this substrate underneath it. Oh, the substrate underneath it, right now, just for this, all I'm using is the tropical substrate mix that Terra Designs has on his channel. I have a huge tub of it laying around. I figured it would be pretty good for this purpose. But I'm gonna rinse out the bowl and then pour the rest of the water into that. I figure worst case, well, I guess best case scenario, maybe some moss will start kind of growing in that. And then if not, then oh well, it's gonna need the water anyways. So I will need to water this, but you don't want to pour water directly on top of it. I'm pretty sure it's just going to wash everything away. So I will be using kind of like a mister or a spray bottle. But now I'm going to set it underneath the grow light and we're going to see what it does given some time, and hopefully it'll grow. But while we're waiting for that, I am going to start moving some of my lettuce. In the last week's video, I also started the lettuce and that's sprouting now. So we're going to move that into a larger container to get that going. Last week I started the seeds in here. And I just have them inside of a cabinet that's keeping it warmer. You definitely can do it different ways. But last week I started the seeds in here and I put them inside of a cabinet that's heated, and then I put a piece of saran wrap over it. And that just helps keep a high humidity level in the tub for the seeds. And the heat coupled with the humidity helps most seeds to help sprout. So we're gonna take a look and see how they're doing. Before I put this saran wrap on, I did take the tags off of them. So a lot of these I kind of forgot what they are to an extent. I know, well, I took a picture of it beforehand, but we do have sprouts. One of the really neat things is the black pearl pepper plants that I had planted. Those are the ones I was the most excited about. And I didn't know if they were gonna sprout. Honestly, I was expecting them to take longer, but they're sprouted. And the really neat thing about it is the leaves on the sprout are already really dark. I was really curious to see if the leaves would, I was curious to see if the first two leaves would be really light green, just normal, and then if the plant would start darkening up when it got more, but it is already really dark leaved. So that's neat. The lettuces have started, but kind of what I was worried about, I think the spinach is actually too warm, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to open this up today. So I took a temperature gauge and I measured this in the cabinet, and this is sitting right around 80 degrees. So the spinach doesn't do very well in that warm of a temperature. No, the lettuce seems to be doing all right. I actually had more on here and I pulled them on accident before I recorded the video, but these ones were the ones that were doing the best. I had planted 3 seeds in each of them, and each of them had 3 sprouts. So all the lettuce really quickly germinated. But I only left the biggest plant because I only need one lettuce per block. So I'm definitely gonna get a close up on these leaves so you can see them. And these, I think these are the sweet peppers. I'll have to double check the photo. It looks like I have got 1 or 2, maybe three I think, sprouted. But the Bolivian rainbows, I'm not seeing any sprouts on those yet. As long as I remember where they were. I'll have to double check on the photo. But we can still move the other plants around. So for the spinach, I'm gonna move those into this. It's just another Tupperware that has some water resting in the bottom of it. And this I'm gonna set out just underneath a light. I'm not gonna have it in an area that's warmed. What I want to see is I want to see these blocks eventually, before I want to move them out of these containers, I want to see these blocks have a little bit of roots coming out of the bottom of them. So that's why I haven't moved the lettuce out of here yet. I'm going to leave it in here for the time being. I might change out the water even, but once I start seeing roots really start coming out of the bottom, that's when I'm going to move them into the next plan, at least for the lettuce, the next plan for the inside portion. Now, if as many of these black pearl pepper plants sprout as I'm seeing, I might have to make another plan for those because I was only expecting maybe 2 or 3 to sprout, but I already see probably, I think 3 already, so we might start seeing more. But for the lettuce, I'm gonna try to grow them in half-gallon mason jars. These are just called net cups. They're used a lot of the time in like aquaponics and hydroponic gardening, and these are 3-inch in particular. And the nice thing about the 3-inch net cups is they fit perfectly inside the mouth of a wide mouth mason jar. So once I start getting roots that are coming out the bottom of that block's going to be moved into this net cup, and then I'm going to have a mix of nutrient solution water in here. So it's going to be able to use that water to grow. The net cup's going to hold it above the water so it doesn't fall into it. And that's a very simple explanation of the Kratky method. When I actually go to make this in an upcoming video, I'll go into more detail on what that is, but it's just a super simple hydroponic method. It's basically can't get any simpler. But it really only works the best for like leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, some herbs, stuff like that. So that's about all I'm going to do right now with these seeds. I want to wait for them to grow a little bit more before I actually move them to something a little bit more permanent. But I'm really excited about the fact that I can see the black pearl pepper plant, and I can't believe how dark these leaves are already. It's really it's really cool. I didn't expect it to be dark that fast. You know what? I planted 6 seeds and I see 6 sprouts. I thought I only saw 3, but there's, oh man. I'm gonna have extras. The nice thing is it makes it very easy to tell when it's recording without video start. Oh, okay.
That's true.
The weird thing is like if it's a really long clip, all of a sudden you'll hear video stop, video start. It's like, what are you doing? That wasn't planned for. That's not what we said.